Nebraska has a huge recruiting weekend on their hands with multiple four-star prospects and a couple guys they might flip. So in today's video, I have a huge recruiting update for you. We're going to go over every single player on campus this Saturday, who they are, what they bring to the table, and will they commit to the Huskers. So really quick, we have a lot to talk about today. If you're fired up about Nebraska recruiting, I know I am. Hit that like button. And hey, if you're new to the channel or a returning viewer, make sure to subscribe. I post daily Nebraska football content and recruiting updates just like this. So if Nebraska is your favorite team and you want to stay in tune with everything they're doing, make sure to subscribe. You will not regret it. But without further ado, let's get into the recruiting update. This weekend is a big one for the Huskers. Nebraska, of course, is hosting Rutgers, but a bunch of talented four-stars in the class of 25, 26, and even 27 are in Lincoln to check out the Big Red. So let's start it off with the biggest name on campus this Saturday, four-star 2025 receiver, current USC commit, Corey Sims. So this basically came out of nowhere yesterday that he was visiting the Huskers this weekend. Again, this guy has been committed to USC since June, listed at 6'2", 190 out of the state of Missouri. You know, a really, really good prospect. I talked about him a lot during the summer. Good hands, good route running. Not necessarily a burner wide receiver, but again, he can make some moves after the catch. So very good talent. I talked about him in the months of June, in the months of May. But ever since he committed to USC, it just felt like it was over. Nebraska was out of that recruiting process. But again, it came out of nowhere yesterday that he is visiting Nebraska. Why is that? Why is he giving Nebraska a second chance? Well, first off, he is a Husker legacy. I mentioned that throughout the spring. His dad was on Nebraska's basketball team in the 2000s. So again, he grew up around the program, rooting for the Huskers, rooting for Nebraska basketball. So that's the first reason. Number two, he said time and time again that the Nebraska staff, they make him feel like a priority, and they're continuing that communication even after he committed to USC. He loves guys like Garrett McGuire, like Marcus Satterfield, like Matt Rhule. He feels like he can trust this coaching staff. So that's something interesting that I want you to remember. And then also, he's very close with Jamarion Parker, current Nebraska running back commit. That's another reason why he's visiting for Rutgers. So this is a very interesting development. A guy who was completely off my radar. When I saw the headline yesterday, I was shocked. I mean, I basically forgot about this guy, period, but he's a very good talent. Again, four-star wide receiver. You'll take him every single day of the week. I know a lot of people are going to ask me, what does this mean for Michael Terry? Absolutely nothing. This has no impact on the Michael Terry recruitment. Again, I made a video about that earlier this week if you guys want to check that out. But Corey Sims, four-star wide receiver, potentially flipping from USC. Now, do I think we flip him? We'll talk about that next week and going into the bye week, but it's interesting that he is visiting now. Some other huge names visiting. That's just the top of the mountain. We got a bunch of other guys here. Bryce Perry-Wright, a top 100 player in the class of 2026, is visiting Nebraska this weekend. He plays defensive tackle in D-end. Of course, four-star prospect, 6'2", 240, coming out of Buford High School. So he's friends with Dylan Raiola and Deion Raiola. And again, just a complete brawler. D-tackle can play all over this defense. And you look at the offer list. Bama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, everybody in the country wants him, and he's visiting Nebraska. So he's a borderline five-star prospect, very, very good. But like I just mentioned, he is close with Dylan. He is close with Dayton. And it was reported that Dylan was honestly the reason he's coming this weekend because he was trying to peer recruit his old teammate to give the Huskers an opportunity. So, again, I want you guys to remember this name. Bryce Perry-Wright coming out of Buford. Very talented player. Nebraska's right up in there along with schools like Alabama and Georgia trying to fend off for his talent. So, that's a guy in the class of 2026, borderline five-star. Another guy here in the class of 2026, somebody I feel very confident about, four-star linebacker slash safety, Keenan Harris. So this is a guy coming out of Missouri. Nebraska's been after him for a while. He went on a visit in late July. So I've talked about him once or twice in the past, but I really like Nebraska's odds here. He loves the coaching staff. Again, he loved his visits when he's been up here in the past. So really, really like Keenan Harris, a very versatile player, again, who can play linebacker. He can play jack. He can play safety. Really good hands. I saw a clip on social media the other day of him snagging a one-handed interception. So very good prospect. This has been reported that he was going to visit for a while now, but he's going to give Nebraska a chance here on this visit. And I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if he makes things official afterwards. Nebraska's the favorite here, and I really like Keenan Harris as a prospect. Let's get to the trenches here, guys. We talked about the D-line. Let's talk about the O-line. We have a pair of 4-star tackles coming out of the Midwest. Maxwell Robinson is the first one I'm going to talk about. 4-star tackle, according to 24/7 Sports. Listed at 6'4", 270 out of the state of Kansas. Oklahoma strongly in the mix for him, but Nebraska has been coming on the scene as of recently. Again, somebody I want you to remember, Maxwell Robinson. And then another 4-star tackle out of the same state of Kansas. Caden Snyder will also be visiting, 4-star according to 24/7. This guy is a complete riser in the recruiting process. He didn't really have too many offers a couple months ago, but ever since then, he went from a 3-star to a 4-star. Oklahoma's in the mix. A lot of other Midwestern schools are in the mix. Nebraska currently hasn't offered him, but that will change after this weekend for sure. Again, 6'5", 255. So two very talented Kansas tackles in the class of 2026 will be visiting for this Rutgers game. A couple other guys I want to get here. Roman Voss, the number 1 player in Minnesota for the class of 2026, will be here for this game. He's a 4-star according to 24/7. Listed at 6'4", 210 pounds. Super versatile kid. Again, that's basically how these Minnesota prospects are sometimes. He can play all over the field, linebacker, tight end, safety. And as of recently, Roman Voss has been getting a lot of attention from schools like Minnesota, Wisconsin, some other Midwestern universities. So really, I like Nebraska's odds here because he's visited the Huskers in the past. He's went to a camp here in the past. But I'd watch out for Minnesota, Wisconsin, most notably for Roman Voss. So we talked about a 2025 prospect. We talked about a lot of 2026 prospects. I'm going to throw out one more at you. This guy's in 2027. So currently, he is a sophomore in high school, but he is a borderline 5-star prospect. Trey Taylor, the number 33 player in that class, dual threat quarterback, will be visiting Nebraska. This is a very significant development because this is a guy who will be a 5-star likely when he's a senior in high school. He has offers already from Michigan, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, a couple other SEC schools in the mix there. So never too early to start recruiting these guys. He's visiting Nebraska. It's his first time ever in Lincoln. And I talk about this all the time. It's good to get 3-star quarterbacks, 4-star quarterbacks. But as we've seen with Dylan Raiola, you want to get these upper echelon, top 100, 5-star guys. Trey Taylor is exactly that. So it's interesting he's visiting Nebraska. You want to give him a good first impression. How can you possibly do that? Win the football game, and I hope Nebraska does just that. So, man, huge recruiting weekend for the Huskers. Big for the class of 2026. Big for Corey Sims at 25. And, of course, 5-star here in the class of 27. So, all right, guys, let me know down below. Are you pumped about this recruiting weekend for the Huskers? And, hey, let me know in the comments section, who do you want the most out of the visitor list? Again, if you made this far in the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And as always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule, and I'll see you in the next one.